Akshay, what's up, buddy?
What's up, brother?
How are you guys doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing good, man. Doing really good. Um, little tired, long day today, but it's all good. So we'll get going. A couple other people. See Nishi. I forget who Nishi is. Nishi iPhone. Z is on.
Denise.
Denise, what's up?
I don't know why it says that.
I was like, who is that? I have seen that before, but I was like, oh man, Z's here.
I
Um,
am.
and yeah, we got a couple people. So I actually changed the group calls. I think doing it with 5 people is going to be good. I had a limit of like 10 on there before, and 10 people was just a little bit too much. Getting all the questions in there because I want you guys to sort of just engage with yourself. So we'll keep it limited to 5 people from now on. The way the group calls work. You can always submit questions. I prefer when you guys do RSVP to the group sessions that you submit questions, things that you want to talk about and discuss. Whoever RSVPs first will essentially get access to the questions. First, we'll hit those. They kind of go into a Google Sheet that I can use for the podcast or just this. But the whole point of group calls, you don't have to be there the whole time. I want you guys to engage. If there's a good question that pertains to one of you, feel free to hop in. Or if I put you on the spot, do your best because I want you guys to learn from each other. It's not just me spitting out knowledge or my 2 cents, but I want this to really, really be a group call where you guys are able to connect, learn from each other, hopefully build good kind of solid rapport with one another, can connect on business ideas or connect with personal issues you guys are both going through. I do save the group call recordings and put them on YouTube after. I think it's just good things, and I'll share them in our Discord as well for other people to watch that want to do this or want to join. But if you do share something that is personal or you don't want it going on the internet for whatever reason, please shoot me a text during our meeting or just send me a private chat here on Zoom. But the whole goal is for you guys to connect with each other, not just to hear me talk for an hour. So does that make sense for everybody? Anyone have any questions about that? Okay, cool. Pretty sure all of you guys have been on the call before. I know I work with all of you guys on one-on-ones, and regardless of how many coaching sessions you've done, I'll keep all the group calls free. I will be, once I'm done, a couple of just shopkeeping updates. Once I finish editing my website, I'm working with someone to help me build out a bunch of courses that will be available to you guys. That client membership thing on my site where I will move the group calls to. If you don't have access to that, I will give you a year-long subscription to that for free. For the most part, I think I charge $7 or $1 if you signed up early per month for that. There's going to be a massive amount of like digital videos and libraries with different categories that you'll have access to. And then you always get 50% off one-on-ones when you're done with your current coaching things, where you can just book ad hoc session here, session there for whatever you want. That'll always be 50% off on that as long as you have access to that membership portal. So those updates will be coming in the next month or two as I kind of get to it with the little time that I don't have. But if you have questions about that, just let me know. If you don't have access to that, send me a text and I'll create a login for you so that you can start your year-long subscription to that. Make sense? Okay, cool. Let's hop into some of the questions. I'm not going to out you with your questions, but unless you want to own what your question is, that's fine. So let's go into the first one. So question number one, and you can always submit personal or business questions. And then if you have other stuff, you can either submit it in the chat or send me a message here on Zoom. But question number one, is it okay to have hope for the relationship to get restored in the future? Thinking maybe both of us have had some growing up to do to be better for each other later on, and that this was God's plan all along. I used to work on myself to be better for both of us, given that's what God has planned. But now we've split and have gotten back more times than I can count. Even our friends know that this is our cycle. But this time it was bad. She broke it off, regardless of me practically begging and having her parents to have another conversation to figure things out. Ladies, what do you think? Is it bad to have hope for a relationship after something ends?
Yes and no. Can you hear me?
Yep, what you got?
I'd say yes and no because when you hold on to hope, it could be false hope because you never really know what the other person wants. So you have to focus on what you want. And the only way to do that is to let go.
Talk to us about that, Denise. Tell us a little bit about your story, how this applies directly to you.
So I went through a breakup in February for 2 months. I was in a 6-year relationship. And after the breakup, I had a lot of hope. Like, I hope he'll come back. I hope he'll text me. And I learned that hope just made me anxious and desperate. But once Cam was telling me, like, you have to let go, and once you let go and start thinking about other things and looking forward to other things, these people do come back. But letting go is not hoping that they'll come back, because you have to be okay with and without them coming back. So my ex did come back, but I'm still trying to figure out if it's for the best in the long run. I don't know what happened there, but that hope can also cloud reality.
Agree. Christina, what you got?
So I think it's good to have hope because you never know. When I broke up with my husband, essentially, I only wanted the best for him. I figured or thought we would work on each other. You never know what's going to happen. Hopefully he'll get his head on right, and you never know. Like, honestly, if you're both growing and becoming better people and X amount of time down the line, you get back together and you're different people and you've grown, then that's great. But it's weird because I think after a certain amount of time, I realized that I wasn't hoping for that anymore. I was just more relieved to be out of the relationship. So I don't think hope is bad. I just think if you're setting expectations, I would say, is what you don't want to do. So
Like it. Anyone else? Okay. So I work with men and women in different regards on this. So ladies, excuse what I'm about to say, but I think that having hope as a man for a relationship is not inherently a bad thing, but if that pulls you away from your primary goals of growing mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, academically, and financially, that's a problem. Because I think that in order for a man to elevate, he has to elevate himself first and be the rising tide that lifts all ships. I think the road to recovery after a relationship for men and women are different, but I think for men, you have to understand that the same protocol for getting yourself back and getting over a relationship is to grow in those areas, right? Whether you want to let go of that person and move on, or whether you want to get better to potentially meet them in the future, that's fine. But either way, when men and women decide to get back to one another, you both have to grow in those aspects. You both have to grow, you have to learn the lessons. And then it's not necessarily getting back together, but you become two different people because the people that you were in that previous relationship, those people no longer exist.
yeah,
We decide that, hey, we're both, growing or going our separate ways, but we intersect in the future. We're now two new people, and you can start a new relationship as two new people and do your best not to bring things and habits and old patterns back from the past in order to become better for the future. Take it from a guy who's gotten back with 3 out of 3 exes, and it's either worked out for the best, but this most recent time We both changed, decided, hey, we had a communication issue. We didn't communicate what I wanted, what you wanted. But now that kind of thing is really just kind of narrowing down to the point where we want to communicate the same direction. You should be those two parallel lines on a yellow road going that distance together, right? Are your goals the same? Do you guys want the same things? Am I trying to change that other person? Or I've had this conversation a lot with people, right? We fall in love with people's potential of who we think they can be. And when we fall in love with the potential of who we think someone can be, we do that because, oh my God, if that person became this person, I see them becoming, they would make me become this person that I want to be. It's like, no, the answer is you should just become that person that you want to be in the first place. So hope isn't necessarily bad, but too much hope or hanging on for something too long is like trying to hang on to a planet that's in orbit going its own direction. And that's most likely pulling you away from that path. And I try to steer men primarily away from holding on to that too long because they're going to get taken from a ride and be further off the path that they need to go down, which is sometimes that path of isolation, right? I can't really guide women too much on that because I'm not a woman and I don't claim to understand women. I feel like I'm very upfront about that. But ladies, what does that path look like to you, right? Do you guys have hope after a relationship? My understanding of a lot of the books that I've read is that breaking up is generally the last thing that a woman will do because they do all that emotional processing before. The breaking up is kind of the last thing. And oftentimes that's the first time the guy really realizes that something has gone wrong. And then he starts that whole emotional path to recovery, which can be messy, right? So what does that look like from the female point of view? What you got?
So honestly, I agree that for me, in the last two relationships I've been in, when I ended things, but it was because I was at my breaking point where it was like, I don't know, or I can't do this anymore. And it's weird because I feel like the first time he seemed to not know where it was coming from or like seemed a little blindsided. Um, and and I probably wasn't the best communicator at that point with my husband. I definitely sat him down and we had several conversations, and so he kind of knew it was coming and seemed to agree because he'd already had the same kind of concerns that it might be going that way. But yeah, like I think for women that you're trying to do everything you can while you're in the relationship, and when you make that decision that you're done, I think it's just you're done and it's more of a relief, which is sad and hard to say, but I think possibly because of like, for me, that like societal idea of you're supposed to make things work, you're supposed to, for better or worse, and all of that. So
Yeah,
it helps.
yeah, that's a good one. Anybody else?
I have something. Let's see. What happened? Can you hear me?
Go for it.
Okay. So I definitely think that females process the breakup while in the relationship, and even when they do the breaking up, it still hurts. But I do think that men can also go through their struggles and also rebuild at the same time. So it could be a little chaotic for them. So that's what I think.
I agree. So I think hope is a complicated word. I think you can have hope, but if it pulls you too far away from that path, you need to be able to self-identify that, hey, I'm being too far pulled away from this, and it can keep you stuck, right? Because the goal is growth. Hey, if it happens in the future, it happens, I'll address that. But maintaining and trying to progress on that road while always looking to the right or to the left or in that rearview mirror, I think is inherently dangerous, right? That's kind of the metaphor that I like to think about for that one in particular. But to each his own, right? Let's hop to the next question because I think that was good. Where to go? All right. This is a good one. So this is probably going to be for the ladies, but how to deal with awkward people, creepy comments or fake people in DMs or in comments. I've just been blocking them, but does anyone have any suggestions?
I
So
just ignore,
Ignore?
block. Yeah, block.
Good. Okay. I think that's smart. Anybody? V, what you got?
Well, the first question was how to deal with creepy people. Is that in person or is this the whole thing is through like social media?
Just through like social media.
I am very intentional with where I put my energy, so I just kind of like it's not worth my time, really.
Yeah.
Or maybe just let them know, like, here's my Venmo if you want an answer from me. And they'll never say anything again. Like, shut them down real quick. Or if they send you money, great, still don't reply after that.
I like that. I like that. Z, what you got? I feel like you got some stuff for us on this one.
I'll just block them.
Yeah,
Yeah. I don't know what to do.
good. I like that. Well, I got a DM the other day. This happens to me now. And what did someone say? Someone said, "Oh my God, I love your content and you're so handsome. Do your travels ever bring you up to the DC or Virginia Beach area?" And I said, "The only travels I do is I take trains by myself because I'm autistic." Right. And I was joking, not a joke against people that have autism, but I was just, early morning and I was just being playful, I guess. And she like just didn't respond. Right. And I was dying laughing because I checked it later and I sent it to a few of my friends and I sent it to my brother and he was like, "Oh my God, that's terrible." So I will get these from time to time and I just, "Oh my God, are you single? Blah, blah, blah. I love your content, whatever." And I just say, "Hey, this is my business page." Right. I said, I keep my personal life rather private or, you know, um, this is for business purposes only. Right? I try to handle that in a professional manner, because I don't know people. But somehow now my TikTok has gotten to a few of like my colleagues and even a former instructor reached out to me on TikTok. She's like, "Oh, dude, I didn't know you were doing this, blah, blah, blah. I have a business idea, whatever else." So sometimes, even if it's person reaching out over DMs or whatever, if you're maintaining a business page, just always try to be as professional as possible. Like there's some personal information out there, even on old videos that I put in that, people will still comment on. And I'm like, ugh, do I really want that being out on the internet this much, right? I put out a video about a breakup now that has 500,000 views. Do I really want 500,000 people knowing about my story and my breakup? No, but that's going to help me alter my content in the point where I'm just going to keep it more professional now, really only kind of maintaining more personal things that I share with clients via one-on-one, which is private between us anyway. So as you continue to do that, just understand the content that you choose to engage with or the information in the comments that you choose to engage with in that manner will predicate those people doing more of those contents. So I just wouldn't engage. I think as a female, you guys get hit on and approached way more than guys ever will. So finding a way to filter that or not respond or block, totally fair. That's what you should do, right? Obviously, the content, if people are commenting on your stuff, that's fine. But until women really start treating men that, hey, this isn't okay for you to do this, right? And showing them that you're not going to engage with that, men are not going to do that. Men are always going to continue to do stupid stuff. I do stupid stuff. I've done stupid stuff like that in the past. But showing men that you're just not going to engage, not going to comment, not doing that, I think is the best way to kind of just continue to move forward, continue to put stuff out there, right? Continue to be more professional. And I think that will help you guys in that regard. Okay. So great question. Z, let me see what your question is here. Why is this sometimes when I turn a guy down, he doesn't want to be friends either? Does it mean he was only interested in something intimate, or is there another reason? It's happened a couple times. Ladies, what you got on that one?
It sounds like it's their ego, like, they don't want to be turned down a second time. And probably if their intentions were to be more than friends, they probably can't be friends with you at that point. So, they just go to somebody else that they can get that attention from.
Christina, what you got?
I would say maybe he just really liked you. And like she said, it's hard to be friends with someone if you really like them and think, I don't have a chance with her.
Good. Like that. Denise, your thoughts here?
I think they could be embarrassed because that's happened to me before a while back. He like tried to kiss me and I'm like, whoa, I thought we were friends. And after that, he just never talked to me again. So,
Yep. Akshay or Tim, you guys got anything there? No, if you guys just want to hang it on mute. Okay. So
I'm
There's
not
great-
ready to have that problem.
good. Good. Not yet, right? There's a great book on this called No More Mr. Nice Guy. Okay. And the concept is written by, I think he's a doctor now, Dr. Robert Glover. But he talks about the concept of giving to get. And every guy will go through the nice guy syndrome at some point in their lives. I read this book when I was like 29, maybe into 30. And 90% of the book, I was like, oh yeah, I've heard this. I don't do this. But there was 5 or 10% of that book that was like, damn, I still do that. I still fall into that habit. And I have to be more conscious of that at that time. And I think as a guy, right, and you can develop friends. I'm not saying that men and women can't be friends, but I think inevitably at some point, right, attraction will build. Chris Williamson, right, the podcast guy, he just put out a big study that said like 90% of guys that have female friends would sleep with that female friend if they were given the chance. And so something for me is girls that I date or I'm dating, I will look at how many male friends that they have, not seeing them as competition, right? Because we're all our own individual person. But if a girl generally has a lot of male friends, especially that are single or still from high school or from whatever aspects of their life, I know from being a guy that those men have thought about sleeping with that woman if at some point. And that is not something that I like to particularly engage in a lot. I'm fine with that. I don't really have competition because of the things that I've achieved in my life. And if someone doesn't want to be with me and I can sense that, I don't need to try and like vie for that relationship a lot. But when I was going through my nice guy era, and I was trying to be friends with women, it was because I was trying to sleep with them or become that. If a guy is stuck in that friendship position for a long time with a female friend and he can't figure out how to get out of it, and that female does see him as like a really good friend, but that guy does have a secret intention to sleep with her, this is what's known as like a male orbiter, right? Guys that will just hover in the circles around a friend with the hopes of, oh, well, she'll break up with him at some point, or oh, that relationship will go sour and then I'll have my chance, or oh, maybe we'll get drunk tonight, or at some point, and then that opportunity will arise where I can try to get a kiss or do whatever. And if that woman's feelings aren't really reciprocal about the mutual attraction between that person, and that guy makes a move and he gets shut down, he'll pull away, right? And then he'll probably stop being friends with you because guys usually are after something like that. If those feelings aren't reciprocated, that's fine. A lot of guys will get stuck there, will never make a move, will continue to be friends with that girl and watch them go through different relationships or watch them hook up with different guys. And I see this a lot with guys in their 20s, right? When they go through breakups and they're trying to be friends with their ex, but they're also trying to like get back with their ex, but their ex is dating and they don't know how to break the cycle. And I'm always like, you cannot be friends with your ex. You've already had an intimate relationship with this person. This person doesn't want to be with you. You have got to cut that off and step away. Actually, what's your question?
So in that scenario, okay, like when you said, like for example, let's say you like a girl, you start dating a girl and you develop feelings and you find out, okay, this girl has a lot of male friends. Because of the logic that you just put out there, do you draw boundaries? Do you ask her to draw boundaries? Do you like what is your next step if you do want to take this further, but you do want to also overcome that fear of like the guy circle?
Yeah, that's a great question. I honestly think that you have to make your intentions known at some point. I think a man who has ulterior motives is not really a centered man, right? Being a masculine man means that you know what you want, you're able to communicate, you're the rising tide that lifts all ships. You can set proper boundaries, you can state what you want without fear of not getting that, or you can state what you want and be okay with not getting that. But it's always your decision at the end of the day, right? I tell my male clients, you're a train that knows where you're going, right? You're building the tracks, you're maintaining the tracks, you're maintaining the train, the equipment, but who gets on and who gets off and who you pick up at what station, how long they're on that journey, that's not really up to you, right? Just because someone wants to get on your train or not get on your train or get off your train, right? Train's not a metaphor for a dick in this scenario, but when someone wants to get off that ride with you, it's not up to you to stop the train and go chase them into the woods or go into the next town or follow them on that journey and try and convince them to get back on the train, right? I think that's a really strong metaphor for men and masculinity. You have to state what it is that you want. And if it's early on, hey, I'm looking for an intimate relationship here, right? I'm looking to get to know you. I don't want you to be my wife today, but I tell my male friends, hey, have fun, hang out, continue to work on yourself, hang out, have fun, hook up if the opportunity comes and you're sensing that. Talk to my male clients about body language and how to elevate or initiate or just, really be empathetic and create a safe space for women to feel comfortable because with good men make everything else better, right? And unfortunately, a lot of women are going without their needs being met because there's not enough good men out there, which is a whole other issue and discussion. But I think at some point you have to state what it is that you want. And whether you get that or not, you have to be okay with that. But then you have to make a decision. Okay, well, she doesn't want to be with me right now. Am I going to continue to chase? And you may chase her out of your life because if she's not there or can't meet you with your needs and what you state, what's your protocol at that point? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And the only reason why I asked that is for two reasons. One, it's happened in the past where I've sensed a guy, a friend of hers, who's a guy, have feelings for her, and then that has come true. He had come out and said, hey, like, I do have feelings for you, and I want to see if this is a thing. So I've been right about that. But number two, I'm just trying to understand how to go about that kind of conversation because I don't want to come off as controlling or like toxic, like masculinity and all that good stuff. But
Yeah. Yeah. I've dealt with this situation a few times. And when that has come up, or I've been in a situation where I can clearly see that someone is either trying to jockey for a position and do this. I was in high school one time dating a chick, right? And one of my long-term friends, I was about to go on a backpacking trip to Europe for 2 months. One of my friends asked me as I was leaving, like the next day, he was like, hey, you're leaving. I don't know what's up with you and Sam, but I love Sam and I want to date her, right? Would you be okay with me dating Sam as I left? And I was like, absolutely the fuck not. I was like, no way.
Mhm.
Right. And I was like, friendship's over, bro. Like, I didn't think you were that guy, but like for me, I was like, no thanks. Now, if you set a boundary with your ex or you are privy to that situation in a different situation and you say, hey, I'm sensing some really uncomfortable vibes from this person, I understand you're friends with them. I want you to know that that makes me really uncomfortable because I can sense something here. Like I see that he has feelings for you, right? You can't control another person. You can only control yourself and your reactions. Marcus Aurelius, one of my favorite people of all time, talks about this. You're going to have emotions, but it's always your choice on how you choose to react to those emotions. If you choose to react emotional and you flip your shit and say, this guy wants to sleep with you, I can't take it, I don't trust you, blah, 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 that's probably going to put some distance between you and your partner. So you can't control them, you can only control yourself. But stating that in a way, saying, hey, I really don't like the vibe that's going on here. I understand you've been friends with this guy for longer than we've even been dating, whatever. But it makes me really uncomfortable because I think he has ulterior motives. How do I know that? Because I'm a guy and guys can sense what other guys are thinking. We know each other, right?
Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have that conversation as early as possible. Don't sit on it as well. Okay. That's a sensitive one. That's something that's happened to me a couple times, and I feel for guys. It's really tough for guys in that situation because women want to have an abundance of friends, male and female, and they often see those things as just like, hey, these are my people. I enjoy spending time with these people. But with guys, we're always in competition with one another, even when we do have close friends, and we can kind of like tread on each other's territory. It's very, very different conversation for both men and women. Ladies, do you have anything to add to that? What you got?
Um, I don't think men and women can be friends unless they have their own partners, or unless you guys are ugly or not attracted to each other.
Good. Christina, what you got?
So it's interesting. I've got a couple points. Where should I start? The first thing, there's a girl that I work with that ended a relationship recently that was kind of similar to what is it Ashkey was just saying. And I think it was because, first of all, they're very young. They're barely 20. But the way that he was trying to set boundaries came across insecure, needy, and kind of a little possessive because he was trying to say, like, you can't hang out with anyone, versus what you said, which was, there's this guy who I know that you are friends with this person. He's coming across the wrong way. And the weirdest part is that the guy that was the issue in their relationship was actually his cousin. So I don't know why he couldn't just have a conversation with his cousin one-on-one and say, hey man, I'm dating her. If you liked her, why didn't you ask her out before we started dating? They could have had a whole conversation versus him going to her and saying, well, Nino is looking at you and you're talking to this guy and you have all these other friends and you can't go out or you shouldn't be doing these things. So if you can have a conversation and take the emotion out of it, I feel like there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, there's this guy that you're friends with and I'm getting a bad vibe. But I trust you. Or maybe what's your perspective on it, and having that conversation. If you don't know the guy, if you do know the guy, then you should be able to speak to them directly. So just my 2 cents.
I like it. I like it. Yeah. Yeah, that's such a complicated issue. There's so many shades of gray, right? Like I tell you guys all this on our one-on-ones, right? We don't have to agree on everything, but there's so many shades of gray in different scenarios, right? Like take the mosaic of the conversation that's happening here and apply that to your picture of a certain situation. Pick what applies to you and then plan your path forward, right? That's setting a boundary, having a protocol for when these things do come up. If that doesn't work for you or it doesn't feel good, you can alter that based upon other knowledge other people have shared here. That's the whole point of these group calls. So great point there. I love it. Let's hop to another question. So what steps should you take to ensure you're not repeating an unhealthy pattern in your relationship? Specifically, if a person says they don't know how to fulfill your needs or are not emotionally capable, how do you make sure you're not repeating those patterns? I'll stay here in awkward silence. I know all of you guys have something to add.
I'll just say one thing. It's not an answer, but this is a fear of mine as well. So I would love some input here.
Christina,
Okay. So here's the thing, and correct me if I'm wrong. If someone is telling you that they can't give you what you need to believe that that's the truth and that maybe they're not the person for you, which sucks.
sucks.
But you're looking for this. Maybe they can only meet you here. It just means you're different people.
Completely agree. Right. I I have said this a bunch to people this week, but imagine that you're with someone for 2, 3, 4, 5 decades and they can't fulfill this need that you're asking for right now. How would you feel in 10, 20, 30 years of not having that need be met? Not being told that you're beautiful or that you're handsome, right? Can you deal with that for 10, 20, 30 years? How would that make you feel? Right? You were in a long relationship, Christina, right? It's okay. You can cry here. This is a safe place, right? But like the simple things that we want. Okay. Under number one, think about the love languages. Okay. Think about your love language. Think about all 5 of them. Which one is probably your primary one? For me, it's acts of service, right? If I'm dating a girl and she comes home and she's already walked the dogs, or she goes, "Hey, babe, I paid your phone bill," or "Hey, that electric bill, I paid it," right? Or "Hey, I got you groceries and I cooked dinner." I'm like, "You're getting it tonight. You're getting 0 sleep tonight, right? That's it. I'll find a way." For me, that's awesome, right? But another one of my partner's needs, she wants to be touched all the time. I'm not a toucher, right? I do jujitsu. So like anytime someone's touching me, I'll like get ready to flip them or, do whatever. I'm like, back up. I'm not a toucher. I'm having to work through that to fulfill my partner's needs because when you're in a healthy relationship, your needs become their needs become your needs, and you agree to those. You compromise, you find a way. Hey, if those are important to you, I'm going to find a way to fulfill your needs. And that is how you advance that relationship. That is how you continue to expand that trust. If you have needs that either aren't communicated or are unmet, that's fine. That's what Ashley and I just worked through, right? She said, "Hey, I realized I didn't communicate my needs in a healthy way." And I said, "I also have done a poor job at fulfilling those needs, but these are my needs that I need from you." And we were able to work that out into a healthy relationship again. That's fine. But if someone is actively telling you that they can't fulfill your basic needs, telling you you're beautiful, sending you a morning text, sending you a good night text, taking you out on dates, buying you flowers, just doing the bare minimum, how long can you realistically go without that? It's different for everybody, right? Guys need to do a better job at this, yes. Because guys, there's a great book on this as well called The Lucifer Principle. And the Lucifer Principle talks about how men are kind of nature's most disposable resource. That happens at the end. It's a lot of about science and primates and different animals throughout the kingdom. But like at the end, he really talks about how men are just designed to be these kind of workhorses and these automatic just fixers and doers and very routine individuals. And unless we're actually getting communication from our partner in a healthy way about those needs, I talked to a client about this the other day, right? State your needs. Can you meet my needs? Yes or no? If all of them are yes, your second question is, what's your plan for fulfilling these needs? And then your third question is, if these needs aren't being fulfilled, what do you think I should do? Asking a partner that, you got them. That should be your answer right there. If I should create a sheet about that, but I think that that is such a strong fucking thing. Hey, these are my needs. Can you meet them? Yes or no? If you can meet them, what's your plan for fulfilling these needs? If you don't fulfill these needs, what do you think I should do? Should I leave? Should I bring it up? All right. I think that is so, so, so powerful. Does that make sense?
I have a question.
Shoot.
Is it true, like what the internet is saying, if he wanted to, he would? Is that saying true, or is it someone can be forgetful because it's not that important to them? So, wow. if they're even capable.
Let's hear from the guys. Akshay, Tim, you're still here. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'd love to pitch in. I think women have a different life than men do. Just speaking from personal experience, there's a lot of struggles and a lot of battles that I would fight that I wouldn't let get to her. She wouldn't know anything about it. Doesn't matter what I dealt with the entire day, if a sale went through or not, business was good or not, health was good or not. I come home and I'm trying to just make this person as happy as I possibly can with whatever reserve I have. And so at the end of the day, I don't want to be, that weak emotional person who's just kind of leaking all of my stuff onto her. That's her, that she can do that onto me. But like for me, I've never really truly vocalized, okay, this is what I'm going through. So I expect you to know you can't. So I think men and women just live a different life entirely. And so I think it's easy, not easy, but I think it's for men, sometimes they do slip up. Sometimes they just have so many battles going on that they really can't keep track of everything. I think just like we talked about earlier, communicating your needs, hey, like this slipped up. Okay, it's important to me. Okay, great. I'll take a note of it. Because I don't know, Ken, you might have something else to say here, but for me, when I was in my relationship and when my girl would say something to me, I took a note and I made sure that that was written in stone and I made sure to do it next time, whether I could, whether I was energized or not, but I did it. I made sure that it was done. And if I couldn't, then I would communicate, hey, like, sorry, I couldn't do this today. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents on it.
I agree. Denise, the internet says a lot of things, right? Myself included. You don't have to listen to everything or believe everything that you do here on the internet. I dislike platitudes in general, and platitudes are just polite, nice sayings that kind of help you with whatever confirmation bias that you're seeking. So the things that you want to innately believe when you hear something on the internet that confirms your own confirmation bias, which is your brain's ability to want to make itself seem right, to make yourself feel validated, you're going to believe certain things. I generally think that's true, but I think that women almost overestimate how emotionally intelligent men usually are, right? Men are generally have like four primary emotions, right? We're hungry, we're horny, we're angry, or we're like just work mode, okay? Yes, there's different emotions in between, but it really takes like 2 or 3 times of hitting us over the head of being like, hey, you're not taking me out on enough dates. I need you to do this. It would be awesome if women could be more direct, and when women have to be more direct, that's awesome. But if a woman is too direct too often, men will perceive that as almost nagging. We're not as emotionally intelligent as women are. But yes, I do agree with that general statement. If he wanted to, he would, right? But there's a lot of shades of gray in between. Is that helpful?
Yes.
Okay. At the end of the day, it's a choice, right? What he chooses to do or not to do, that is a choice. And you have to look at that because, right, if you're going to be part of this coaching program, we have to look at what people's actions are, right? Does this person align their words and their actions? Yes or no? If that person does not align their words and their actions, their value decreases in our eyes because we can't trust them either with our emotional safety, physical safety, or mental safety, right? Which means you also have to align your words and your actions. What you say you're going to do, you have to do that. You have to focus that because if you want that from another person, we have to do that for ourselves. So if you wanted to, he would. Now, if you do that too much too often and you're giving too much of yourself to another person and you're not getting that reciprocally met, that's the time to look at that and be like, I'm giving too much. My needs aren't being met. I'm going to dial it back. But again, it boils down to communication at the end of the day. That's it. Okay. Sweet. Sweet. Good question. Anyone else have anything to add there?
Just to chime in real quick, I also believe that we are creatures of habit. So if he is doing it more often than not, even the few times he doesn't, doesn't mean he doesn't care, doesn't mean he's not paying attention. It's just sometimes life happens. Certain situations like, oh, I want a certain type of food today. I make another of it, cool. I try to do my best. I get off of work, I run over. It might be closed. I might say, I got you, baby. I'm gonna take care of it. No worries. but I can't because sometimes shit happens, which is fine. But if I have a track record of constantly not showing up, then that's an issue. But if I'm showing up 8 times out of 10, I feel like my habits has shown you that I am trying and I'm putting the effort forward. So yeah,
Yeah. Always look at someone's track record, right? If that track record is trending up, cool, you're heading in the right direction. If it's spotty, that's fine. No one's perfect. No one. So the more that you can communicate, the better that you can communicate, the less you'll have to worry about in the long run. Let's try and hop through some of these other questions if we got them. Z, I see your second question there, but I'll save that to the end because it's a good one. All right, so if I truly enjoy being alone, why does the idea of long-term solitude still carry fear or uncertainty? What you guys got? Anyone?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So the larger question is, how can I tell the difference between being genuinely comfortable being alone and subconsciously avoiding dating? All right, so you're comfortable being alone, but you're subconsciously avoiding dating, right? Sometimes that can carry fear and anxiety. Okay, do I want to date, but I like being comfortable? How do you work through those two disparities, especially as a female?
You have to work on your fear of abandonment, because you're so comfortable being alone that you fear you let someone in, they're gonna leave you, and you're gonna have to start that process of being comfortable by yourself all over again. And it can be painful.
I agree. Talk about the fear of abandonment. How do you perceive that?
I think a lot of the time it can come from daddy issues. Like if you grow up with an absent father, you kind of attract people that don't have the intention of like sticking around long term. And even though it's kind of like a it's just like my mind jumps around about this subject. It's like you get a high off of this push and pull feeling. So I don't know.
I agree. I like that. Anybody else? Talking about wanting to date, but also being comfortable. How do you deal with that sovereignty, but also worry about dating?
I'll pitch in. But I consider myself an introvert. I've been an introvert since I was, for as long as I can remember, from the playground to the locker room. But when I got into a relationship, I got a partner, and I did everything with that person. I ate, I went on vacations with, I made love with, I had a relationship with, I got married to, and spent life with, and everything. And now that that's over, I'm just speaking from my specific experience. After going through this experience, I know that if I allow someone to come in, I am inviting the possibility of their peace, but I'm also inviting the possibility of their chaos. And speaking from coming from a place of where I like my space because I'm comfortable with myself, but on top of that, I do also want my peace protected. I think that's kind of where the battle is. It's like I don't want to entrust somebody else with my peace, but I know I can trust myself, especially through this work that we're doing together in this community of how to, truly be peaceful and maintain that peace. I think the moment we let somebody else into our life, we are kind of giving up that control and allowing for them to bring a little bit of that chaos in. So I mean, that's just kind of my 2 cents on the battle between wanting somebody and also just wanting to be alone and living a peaceful, quote unquote, peaceful life.
Dude, great response. Anybody else got an input here?
Yeah. So I can agree that I am sort of like extroverted introvert, I guess. And what I mean by that is that I enjoy my alone time. Even in my relationships, I enjoy sometimes doing things by myself. Going grocery shopping by myself is more relaxing for me, or clothes shopping. Like, I don't want you to tag along or to have conversations, you know? So I enjoy my solitude, and I need sometimes to like retreat and do my own thing, even if you're in the next room or whatever. But this, at the same time, coming out of a divorce and everything, like, you know, that am ready for a new relationship. I know that I am open to that. You have to kind of see that you're a different person, like hopefully you're growing, learning, changing, and that you don't have that same story of, I'm going to repeat that cycle. Like, it's going to be different because I'm different. And yes, it'll be a change to have someone here again, but you kind of have to welcome that and just go with the flow and see what happens, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think about the word homogenized comes to mind, right? When you feel like your energy is pure and that's authentic and you like it and you're comfortable with yourself. I've been through periods of isolation where I've just sworn off dating and I just said, I'm just going to focus on my business or focus on this or the dogs or the house or my goals. And then I start putting myself out there, and then I meet people that I don't really harmonize with, but maybe I'm attracted to, and maybe just, you know, the time that we have is better than fully being alone because you get some of your needs met, but then you find yourself compromising, and then your energy starts to get homogenous with another person. That's really kind of terrifying because you're like, ugh, like, do I want to let this person fully into this? Like, do I want to not really lower yourself, but just change your own energy in order to like match better with this person? And that really, that's a whole process of dating to me, right? You're figuring out what you like, you're figuring out what you don't like, you're figuring out if you're ready, and you're figuring out, okay, well, would this person's energy match mine? Is this person energy different? Is this person's energy in a direction I want to go? It's not better or worse, but it's like, would these ingredients be good to mix in with my own energy, or is it oil and water, right? Think about that, right? Is it adding plastic and trash to a fire that I really like and enjoy and is comfortable and is sustainable, right? Or is it adding too much fuel to the point where it might be overwhelming and turn into a bonfire and get out of control? You have to be able to like entertain those ideas, but that's the whole process of dating. I don't think you should be afraid to date. I think you should put yourself out there. And I think you learn a lot about yourself when you date as well. I'm ready for this. I'm not ready for this. I like this. I don't do that. As I prepare clients to get ready to get back in the dating world, I have them start a journal. And I call it a dating journal, right? You're going to go on a date, you're going to have a conversation, whatever, and then you're just going to kind of take notes about that. Hey, these were the things that I liked. This is how it went. This is what we did. And I have them cross out the things that they don't like, and then I have them circle the things that they do like. So as they're dating over months or whatever, you can go back and say, oh my God, well, I like tall guys. I like when guys are funny. I like when guys bring me to do adventurous stuff. I like when they open the door. I don't like when they dominate the conversation the whole time or when they ask me to split things, whatever it is. You can start to identify the things that you don't like and the things that you do like. And I think this is a very healthy way to kind of approach that in a safe way because we're all looking for an emotional place where we can be safe with our emotions with another person, right? So I did that before a long time ago. I've only done it once. It was helpful. And then whatever. But I recommend for a lot of my female clients to do that because I think it's a great, great tool for that. Okay. Let's hop into one of the last questions here. Where'd it go? Hopefully that answers that question. Don't be afraid to date, but only if you're ready. So last question for Z. Let's see, what was your second question? Any green flags women should look for on dates? And then for the guys, right? We'll talk about that after. But green flags for women on dates. What are your green flags?
I would say, depending on how early it is, I'm gonna assume that it's very early on. I think communication. And by this, I don't mean that you are talking to them all the time or texting all the time, but that it's consistent enough. Again, not all the time. And I would say the biggest green flag is that you know when you're going to see them next. Like they're making plans to see you. If it's just communication and no plans, red flag. But I would actually prefer little communication, but we have a plan to see each other and they follow through, of course. I'm gonna stop there to let somebody else take it.
Like it. Like it. Ladies, anything else? Good. I say this, aligning your words and your actions, right? Follow through, always having a plan. And then I tell my guys, hey, when you're ready to date, it's almost like an interview, right? You're asking a lot of questions. You got to make them feel safe. You got to make them feel heard. Great eye contact, a guy that can dress well, right? And a guy that's a gentleman, right? He has a plan. He's able to handle stuff. You get a flat tire, maybe he can fix that. Maybe that's a green flag, right? But ask him about 6 categories, right? Hey, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, academic, financial. How would you rate yourself in these categories? What do those categories look like to you? Right? If every woman started asking guys those questions, hey, would you mind if you rated yourself 1 to 10 in these 6 categories? Right? I'm just curious. That would key guys into being like, oh shit, women are looking for a guy that's this, and this, right? The amount of times I've seen videos talking about how every girl wants a guy that's at least 6 feet tall, makes 6 figures, and has at least a 6-inch dick. It's like those should not be the metrics that we're measuring each other by, right? Imagine if men came out with a rubric that graded women that way, it would make women feel extremely, extremely judged, right? Men don't like to be judged by those things either, because I think in reality of that, maybe there's 2 or 3% of those guys, but how many of them are taken? How many of them are actually emotionally intelligent? How many of them actually align their words and their actions? We're probably getting down into the 0.001% of dudes, right? That's not a whole lot of available guys that fit that bill and then fit all of the other things that women want in a guy. Guys will go to McDonald's, think a girl is cute, and ask her out because we're like, she's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen, right? And we generally don't have rules for that. Physical beauty is typically first for men, but then after that, we really start matching in. Okay, well, do we have the same things? Is she cool? Is she mature? Has she been in a relationship before? What kind of things is she looking for, right? We kind of tend to think of those things after. Women put all of those other things first. Can I feel safe with him, right? Does he want to get to know me? Does he have a plan? Putting down your own red flags and green flags on a list is super, super beneficial, right? And if you're back on the dating market or you're single, creating that own list for you is something that I would highly, highly, highly recommend for my female clients. Even for my male clients, I have one for me that I created probably 4 or 5 years ago that I've been slowly updating, but that needs some love and attention. Okay. Does that answer your question, Z?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So we'll wrap up here, right? If you guys have your socials or anything that you want to put down in the chat box, feel free to just go type that in. I'll post this link in the Discord as well. And then I'll post the call to RCP to future stuff as well. Typically, they'll either be on Thursdays or Sundays. So check, make sure you RSVP ahead of time. Make sure you submit questions. If this was helpful for you, awesome. Thank you for coming and showing up. This was a good discussion. If you shared things that you don't want to go on YouTube later, because I will post the group calls on YouTube, just let me know. Shoot me a text. I'll typically take care of this tonight or tomorrow night. But if you need anything else, just send me a text, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sounds
Thanks,
good, guys. We'll see you soon. Bye.